Hi fellow plant people! Welcome back if you are returning to my channel. If you're new, my name is Jen and I go by The Leafy Geek here and also on Instagram. And today we have a couple of new things. I have some new plants to show you. We have a new president. I'm sitting in a very empty room right now. I mean, it's kind of empty. This is my plant room that I'm filming in. I just figured it was kind of a nice change. The light's really good in here right now. And also I have all of this room right here where that huge full-size spare bed used to be, and it's gone. So I'm getting a couch delivered to have in here. So I have more of like an office den plant room vibe in this room. So that's side note, probably more information than you needed, but I'll be sure to show you the room when it's all kind of styled and complete and kind of in a space where or in a place where I want it to be. I thought that today I would show you the last new plants that I am planning on purchasing for 2020 and probably for the first part of 2021. It's about to get cold here. We're getting snow on Tuesday, and then I think it's officially going to be winter in Minnesota. But it's been really nice this week, and I had placed some plant orders kind of last minute, and half of those I showed you in a previous video. So this is the remaining half of my new plants that I purchased and that were on their way to me at the time of filming that other video. So, couple of wish list plants in this order, which I'm really excited to show you. But I thought that I would just take some time to let you see what I got, and that's probably going to be my last plant haul for a while, at least until 2021. When it gets nice again. I should say that I did order plants over the winter last year, and it was kind of an experiment, and it, for the most part, worked out. It was just very, very stressful for me, and I feel like I think I'm in a place now where I have a lot of plants. I have a lot of the plants that I wanted and was striving to collect. Of course, that being said, if I cross paths with a Hoya that I've been kind of coveting or, you know, really interested in potentially picking up for my collection, not real sure I'm going to say no, but it's something that I'm going to try and avoid at least until next spring. So let's just show you some plants. That's really what I want to do with this video. Just kind of take a breath. I know we've all been holding our breath for a little while. Let's just take a breath and look at some new plants. The first group I'm going to show you, it's a group of 3 that I got from Steve's Leaves. You can probably see I have plants right over my shoulder. So this is one that I'm really, really excited about. I picked up the Beauty Kim Maranta from Steve's Leaves. They've had this featured on their website for a little while, and when I checked most recently, it had gone down in price. So I ended up deciding, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get one because they just looked really lovely, and I know that a few plant tubers have featured Beauty Kim on their channels, so I decided to go for it. But it's got this gorgeous variegation on the leaves, and the leaves, of course, like the Marantas, are very soft. But just also this really wonderful kind of speckling variegation, and then this dark red coloration as well. And it arrived in perfect condition. No leaves lost, just beautiful. And it's been rebounding really well in my home, so I'm hopeful that it's maybe not super fussy. I'm gonna definitely treat it like a prayer plant and give it, you know, what I think prayer plants are accustomed to, but it's just a really gorgeous, and it's such a large plant for, you know, for the, I don't know, I mean, for the size I was expecting. It's in a 4-inch pot, but it's just got a lot to it. So this is Maranta, I think it's Maranta Leucanura Beauty Kim. Next up from Steve's Leaves is this little Irisine Herbstii. This particular variety is called the Oreo reticulata. And I have had an irisine plant before. I had kind of the traditional bright pink red one. It's known as the chicken gizzard plant or the bloodleaf plant. So this is a different variety of that same type of plant. And what's neat about this one, it's also referred to as the notch leaf irisine because it has these little heart-shaped leaves, and that notch occurs naturally. And it's also speckled with this red color. So it's kind of this mottled mix of yellow and white and green and pink red, which I think is really pretty. And we'll see how this does. I really just, I added it to the cart because it was pretty on the picture. So we'll see how this does. My old one is no longer with me. It did not survive the transition back indoors, unfortunately. I had it out on my patio for the summer, which it loved. It loved the outdoors. And then unfortunately it got colder and you know, I had it under grow lights and I tried to supplement humidity for it and it didn't like it. Didn't want to be around anymore. But hoping that this one will just kind of maintain indoors. I'm going to keep it next to a humidifier with some of my fussier plants. So that's the plan anyway. It's still acclimating. You can see there's some leaves around the bottom that are a little bit wilted, and I just watered it. So hopefully this one will do well. Irisine herbstii, Oreo reticulata. All right, last non-Hoya plant that I'm going to show you in this haul. So this is the last plant that I got from Steve's Leaves, and you might be going, what, Jen? What? You and succulents? What? Yeah, I got a succulent. I opted to get a succulent. And I still really can't tell you why. It just really, I liked it. I don't know, guys. I don't know if I'm changing my mind about succulents, or they're definitely not my go-to plant, but I do have kind of a neat spot in my room, in my bedroom, that is under one of my aspect grow lights that's kind of turning into this little tabletop cacti and succulent garden. And it's just a really pretty like landscape almost in my house. And I've been slowly adding some additional succulents to that little tabletop succulent and cacti scape. So this one I really liked. It's also referred to as the propeller plant, also known as, what are these, lavender scallop leaf, lavender edge something or other. Propeller plant for sure I know is one of the names for it, and vertical leaf, senecio, is the other name that I've heard for it. So this is a senecio crassissimus. This is a Senecio crassissimus, or propeller plant. So, you know, I'm gonna put it in that little space where my other succulents are right now, and hopefully it will make it through the winter. But yeah, I bought a succulent, guys. Doesn't happen too often, but it's cute. I will say, it is a cute little plant. You guys ready to see some Hoyas? I'm ready to show you some Hoyas. Okay, first I think I'm going to show you a little bundle of 4 Hoya cuttings that I purchased from an Instagram plant fluencer. Her name is Almi. She goes by Jaya's Jungle on Instagram. I featured her on a couple of my videos now, but she's got some really cool species, and occasionally does pop-up sales on her Instagram. So please check her out, Jaya's Jungle. I'll have her linked in the description. But I did pick up 4 cuttings from her, which I have been rooting in sphagnum moss in my little propagation box. And I'm going to show you, let's see here. We'll do 2 at a time because I have 2 hands. So this one is a Hoya Rebecca, and that seems to be doing pretty well. I've been doing the tug test. I've only had these for like a week or 2, I think. Yeah, we're coming up on 2 weeks, I think, that I've had them. And It's doing quite well from what I can tell. This one is Hoya cagayanensis, and this one I am a little bit unsure about. I'm not entirely sure how this one's gonna go. It seems to be hanging in there. It arrived to me, it was kind of a cold day when I got these cuttings, so I've been really keeping an eye on them, and I'm noticing there's just a little bit of something going on at the tips of the leaves on this one. So I might have to do some snipping, but I don't know if you can see that. Just some weird flecking on a couple of the leaves, not on all of them. But I don't see any signs of like necessarily any pests or disease on any of these cuttings. So we'll see how this goes. Cautiously optimistic with this one. And this is it feels like it's almost a thinner leafed variety than some of these other ones. So those in my experience are a little bit more delicate. Not necessarily harder to root, but definitely a little bit more delicate, and you can run the risk of losing leaves a little bit easier, in my opinion, and in my experience. So that's Hoya cagayanensis. And then two more. This is a species. It's an unnamed species. I believe it's from Papua New Guinea. It's called Hoya sp PNG SV 435. The PNG, I believe, is Papua New Guinea. And just from my research, I think I did see that mentioned somewhere. So this has a really cool leaf on it. Everything's looking pretty good on this one. And then the last one in that little cutting bundle is this one. This is Hoya stoniana. And it has these really interesting kind of longer leaves that almost remind me of like a Waiatii. But they are this bright green. So I'm excited to see how all four of these do. Again, I have them in my propagation box, which is enclosed. There's quite a bit of humidity generated in that box because I have a lot of cuttings rooting in water in there alongside these four. So hopefully I'm going to keep checking, and you always do that gentle tug test when you're rooting in sphagnum to see if they, you know, if there's any resistance whatsoever, you know that roots are probably forming. So, and then of course, icing on the cake is when you see new growth starting to come out, then you know it was definitely a success. So these are my four beautiful little Hoya cuttings from Jaya's Jungle. And hopefully I'll be able to post an update down the road that has some good news for you with these. I'm optimistic. So when I went to my local garden center to do a soil run, I had to go get some potting soil for end of the year, or end of the season potting that I was finishing up, or repotting I should say, from my plants that were outdoors. I checked their website and opted to pick one of these up. And I already have one of these. It's in a smaller pot. The one I have is in a 4-inch. But they did offer these beautiful Hoya lacunosas at Tonkadale. And so I decided to get one. I really, you know, I have a few Hoya in my collection that are approaching kind of a decent hanging size, but a lot of my Hoyas still are very small. They're, you know, under a 4-inch pot size, which is fine. I love them. I love growing them. I love watching them grow. But it's kind of nice to have some full plants kind of rounding out your collection. So, you know, I love that urban jungle feeling, or that indoor jungle feeling. And this is going to help with that, I think. So yeah, Hoya lacunosa. And it's a pretty decent looking plant. It's, you know, no frills. I know that I've heard that the blooms smell really beautifully. I've never had a lacunosa bloom, but we'll see. Maybe if this one's just a little bit more mature, it might bloom for me. Okay, I have two more Hoya to show you, and they are both very high up on my wish list, or they have been. So I feel like I was in a place where I could purchase them, and then they came across my path on a couple of Hoya sellers websites that I have purchased from before and trust, so I got them. So the first one I want to show you is this little beauty. This is Hoya globulosa. I think it was formerly known as Hoya villosa, but oh, it's a little drippy. Just watered it. I'll put it back in its little makeshift cash po here. So let me get this tag out of the way. There you go. So this is Hoya globulosa. So Hoya globulosa has these beautiful long veined leaves that I'm very excited about. And this one came with 3, and it looks like there's a new growth point forming kind of down in the center here. And these, you know, came with this big mature one and then these 2 smaller ones. So I'm excited to see what this one does for me here. Pretty optimistic with most of the Hoyas that I've gotten from Unsolicited Plant Talks is where I got this one. So yeah, this has been on my wish list for a while. I just love the veination. I'm starting to slightly grow my collection of extremely veined or veinated. What is the right terminology for that? I don't know. The Hoyas with the big veins. Gotten a few of those recently, so very, very excited to have this one in my collection. I have to go get the other one because I did not want to take that out of its enclosed humidity boosting space until I was going to show it on camera. I guess I'm just very, very almost paranoid about making sure that one acclimates because I did just get it a day ago. So let me go get it and I will show you. Here it is. This is Hoya caudata, variety Sumatra. And this one I did get from Secret Garden, Rare Plants. I'm almost scared to touch it. I probably shouldn't touch it. It seems to be acclimating well. This one gave me a scare because it was a couple of extra days in the mail. And I wasn't even really sure it was going to get to me. So very, very happy that it did. I've just been keeping an eye on it. I'm checking the root system pretty frequently. You can see there are roots down there. I'm just going to let it acclimate for maybe a couple more days, then maybe consider getting it into some of my chunky Hoya mix. Just to, you know, it's the mix that I use that my Hoyas seem to really do well in. Hoya caudata. I've been wanting this plant for a very, very long time. This is ever since I, well, ever since I got a Calistophylla and also a Finlaysonii, this moved to the #1 spot on my wish list. So I'm just very excited that I have this in my possession, and thanks to Jody at Secret Garden for having this available, and it's looking great. I'm very, very, very excited about this plant. Yay! Okay guys, that's all for me. Probably the next video I film in here, you'll see this nice adult furniture with my couch and just kind of a different setup, so that will be nice. And yeah, I think I'm done ordering plants, at least for a while, especially if it starts to get super cold. I just don't think I could take that. You know, finding a wish list Hoya, even if I find a wish list Hoya and purchase it, there's absolutely no guarantee that it would get to me alive, even with heat packs, even with extra precautions taken. So this is the very last plant that I purchased in 2020. I hope you guys are taking time to relax and rest and celebrate if you are choosing to celebrate, and, you know, take it easy. We still have a lot of work to do, but here we go. So until next time, enjoy your plants.